You spent the last 12 months gathering the data, analyzing it, polishing your paper, waiting for the journal to respond, just to find out your paper was rejected again. And it's not a mean reviewer. It's not bad luck, and it's not because of your science or data. So in this video, I reveal two main reasons why reviewers in Q1 journals actually reject your papers and how you can fix that today to start publishing papers regularly in Q1 journals. Like one of our clients, Sabrina Brando, who published 3 papers in Q1 journals last year. So the first thing we need to talk about here is that the reviewers are not mean. They're not subjective. What they are is pressed for time. Because think about it, a journal reviewer works for free. They're not paid by the journal, right? And they do a lot of other work. They're typically professors at well-known universities who are supervising a ton of students, lecturing, running labs, having to fight for grants and funding, trying to publish their own papers and collect their own data. And on top of that, they're told that they have to review papers. So if you're in that situation, how are you going to react to papers? What are you going to be looking for? Well, first of all, if you're really pressed for time, you want to know straight away, is that paper interesting, important, and relevant? Because if it isn't, you might first of all even decline to review the paper, which then really extends the whole review process, or you will reject that paper or recommend major revisions, right? They want to know whether your paper contributes in a novel way very quickly, as soon as possible. So knowing that, we need to deliver that to the reviewers. So to illustrate that, let me tell you a story. A couple of years ago, I submitted a paper to a really good journal in my field, and the paper got rejected, and I got pretty bad reviews. Basically, the reviewers were saying, we can't really see the novelty of this paper, we don't understand the contribution, and therefore the paper should be rejected. And I was kind of devastated, and I was really angry with the reviewers. I was like, how dare you, and so on, right? And then I thought to myself, once I've calmed down, which took a while, I thought to myself, okay, well, maybe actually the novelty isn't that clear. I mean, it's clear in my head, but now that I actually read the paper, well, maybe it actually isn't clear. So maybe they're right about it. So it's not that my paper was not novel, it's just that I didn't showcase it properly to the reviewers. And I changed one teeny tiny thing that I'm going to teach you in a second, and that got the same rejected paper accepted in a journal that's top 0.4% in my discipline. It's ranked as number 5 out of over 1,000 journals on Scopus. And you can see the screenshot right here, so I'm not making this stuff up. Right? So what did I do? Well, I thought to myself, how can I make the contribution of this paper clear to the reviewers as fast as possible? Well, the obvious answer was the introduction. That's going to be the first thing that they read. So what I decided to do was to insert a paragraph right at the end of the introduction. Let me show you that for a second. So you can see that paragraph right here on the screen, and it comes right after the aim of the paper, and its main purpose is to really highlight to the reviewers the contribution of our study. So it's crystal clear from the very beginning why our study is valuable. And it's pretty simple. I mean, there's nothing too groundbreaking about it. I just start by saying there are several contributions this study makes. First, it is the first study to do X, Y, and Z, right? And then the data clearly shows this. Second, right, this research contributes for the first time to a better understanding of, right? And then finally, by establishing X, Y, and Z, this paper opens several avenues for future research. Pretty simple, nothing groundbreaking there. But that alone got it accepted in the absolute best journal in my field. Are you ready to implement these strategies to publish research papers in high impact journals in your discipline? Are you a professor, a researcher, or a PhD student who would really like to advance their career and make a really big contribution to the field by publishing more papers in better journals while actually working less and enjoying the whole process? Then I've got really good news for you. I've just opened some slots in my calendar, and you can book a free one-to-one consultation with me where we'll dive deeper and identify the specific challenge and bottleneck that is blocking you from achieving your full potential. And then we'll also clarify your goals. And then at the end, I'll outline an action plan for you that will help you to achieve all your academic goals, publish more papers, and advance your career. If this sounds like something that you want to do, book the free one-to-one consultation right now. The link is in the description of this video. The first lesson here is that you need to very quickly showcase the novelty and relevance of your study to the reviewers. Obviously, that's not the only place you're going to do it. You should also do it in other parts of your study. Now, one place to do that could be, for example, the discussion section or the conclusion, where you could start it by saying, you know, the main contribution of this paper is X, Y, and Z. It is the first study to do this and that. By analyzing this, we are able to make several important contributions. Those kind of things. You want to insert those phrases as well there. But the key thing is definitely to do it in the introduction so that it's highlighted to the reviewers. Now, the second big area that you want to be thinking about is journal conventions. Okay. And to illustrate why this is so important for reviewers, let me give you an example of the last paper I have under review right now. And in that paper, the reviewers pointed out, reviewer 2 especially, pointed out that my paper did not follow the conventions of that journal. Because what happened is that the reviewer pointed out that, you know, typically papers in that journal, they have a separate literature review section, and my paper didn't, and they had a separate theoretical section rather than have it in the methodology, and so on, right? So straight away, you need to write the papers like they would be written in that particular journal. So before you submit it, right, what you want to do is analyze 5 to 10 papers recently published in that journal for the specific structure, the specific lingo that they're using, and preferably also refer to some of those papers in your own paper so that the reviewers don't point it out. And even better still, you could get AI to do this as well. For example, at Publish Researcher, we build an AI peer reviewer bot, which will basically get into the mind of the reviewer. And there's another video on this channel where I talk about that bot. But if I was to show you quickly how that AI peer reviewer bot works, basically what it's been designed to do is to think like a reviewer. So you give it the journal guidelines in here, then you give it model papers from that journal that are similar to yours, right? It analyzes those papers, and then what it does, it gives specific guidelines in here, okay? And then based on those guidelines, it reads your paper, and then it gives you specific comments, like a peer reviewer would. So that's something that you can build, or you can get access to if you want to work with me and my team at Published Researcher. We basically guarantee that you'll have 3 Q1 papers in the next 12 months, or you don't pay anything. You can find out more. There's a link in the description. There'll be a video case study there, and you can book a free one-to-one consultation if you think it's the right fit. But I would really encourage you to do that as well, so that your paper always follows the journal conventions and it's written with the reviewer in mind. Because top researchers don't write for themselves. They write for the reviewers, and they kind of predict the things that the reviewer for that specific journal will be probably looking at. And with the rise of AI now, it's very easy to almost automate that process. Now, of course, now you might be thinking, how do I actually write a paper for a Q1 journal that is really, really good and increases my chances of getting accepted? So if you want the most detailed video on that with step-by-step instructions, checklists, templates, basically everything, right? Everything that me and my team worked on for 3 years, watch this video next. It is very long, but it gives you everything, every single detail that you need to know so that you can write the best Q1 paper that you've ever written and get it submitted to a really good journal in the next 4 weeks or so, and almost guarantee that it will be published. So watch that video next and implement everything there.